just one choice. And yet, most people never realize how much power rests in that one decision because they're too busy waiting for the perfect timing, the perfect circumstances, or the perfect guarantee. The truth is, there will never be a perfect moment. What there will always be, however, is the opportunity to choose differently right now. Think about the stories of people who seemed ordinary until the moment they decided otherwise. A man stuck in a dead-end job for years who suddenly chose to learn a new skill in the evenings instead of watching TV. A woman who spent decades avoiding risk, until one day she said yes to the uncomfortable opportunity in front of her. These weren't grand gestures at first. They were simple, quiet choices that shifted everything over time. But when we look back, we see the ripple. A new career, a new life, a new level of self-respect. All of it sparked by a single choice that instantly changed the trajectory. Now here's the harsh contrast. Most people never make that choice. They say they want change, but when the moment comes, they hesitate. They choose safety instead of growth, comfort instead of courage, excuses instead of responsibility. And that's why so many wake up years later, full of regret, wishing they had done things differently. The reality is that inaction is also a choice. It just happens to be the one that guarantees nothing changes. There's a story I once heard about two friends who grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same schools, and faced the same struggles. One of them decided to take the easy path, quick money, shortcuts, and blame whenever life felt unfair. The other chose something harder, waking up early, studying while others were out wasting time, saying no to temporary pleasures in exchange for long-term growth. 10 years later, the difference was undeniable. One was trapped, complaining that life had been cruel. The other had built a life of freedom and fulfillment. Was it luck? No. It was one choice, repeated over and over again, that separated their destinies. This is the brutal but liberating truth. Life isn't determined by circumstances nearly as much as it is by decisions. You can be born into poverty and still rise to wealth. You can be abandoned and still build deep love. You can fail repeatedly and still succeed on the next attempt. The factor that changes everything is not fate. It's the choice to keep moving, keep growing, and keep betting on yourself. But here, where most people misunderstand the power of choice, they think it has to be massive. They imagine it means quitting their job overnight, moving across the world, or burning every bridge behind them. But often, the choice that changes everything is much smaller than you think. It's the choice to speak when you'd normally stay silent, to walk into the gym when you feel tired, to read a book instead of scrolling endlessly, to finally admit the truth instead of hiding behind lies. These choices might feel small, almost invisible, but over time they stack up. And one day, they create a life that looks unrecognizable compared to the one you had before. Let me ask you, how many times have you told yourself, "I'll start tomorrow"? How many times have you known what you needed to do but pushed it off because it felt inconvenient? And how many times has tomorrow come and gone, leaving you in the same place with the same frustrations, facing the same regrets? Every one of those moments was a fork in the road. Every single one was a chance to choose differently. But you let it slip by, telling yourself the lie of later. The truth is, later almost never comes. What changes everything is the choice you make now. There's another story worth remembering. A man once stood at the edge of a cliff, not literally but in his life. He had two options. He could keep living the way he had been, safe, predictable, unfulfilling, or he could leap into the unknown. Everyone told him to play it safe. Don't risk it, don't make waves, just be grateful and settle down. But something inside him said otherwise. So against all advice, he chose differently. He started the business. He moved to a new city. He risked failure. And yes, there were hard days. Yes, there were doubts. But a decade later, he looked back and realized that choice was the single reason he had built a life worth living. Had he chosen safety, none of it would exist. Contrast is what makes the lesson clear. One choice can either chain you to mediocrity or set you free. One choice can either deepen your regret or ignite your future. One choice can either keep you trapped in the illusion of someday or give you the life you've always wanted. So why do most people still hesitate? Fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of losing what they already have, even if what they have is slowly suffocating them. But here's the irony. By avoiding the risk of one choice, they guarantee the pain of never changing. Which pain would you rather carry? The temporary sting of trying and failing, or the permanent weight of regret? That's the real question. The next time you're faced with a decision, remember this. It's not about whether you're ready, it's about whether you're willing. No one ever feels fully ready to make a bold choice. But willingness, that's different. Willingness means you accept the discomfort. Willingness means you trust the process, even when you can't see the outcome. And willingness means you give yourself permission to rewrite your life, one decision at a time. Think of the person you want to become, the stronger, wiser, freer version of yourself. That person is waiting on the other side of a choice. Not 10 choices, not 100, just one. And when you finally make it, everything shifts. Your identity changes, your confidence grows, your path clears. It won't happen all at once, but it will begin in an instant, the very moment you decide to stop waiting and start choosing. So if you're tired of being stuck, tired of waiting, tired of wondering why nothing changes, remember this. One choice can instantly change everything. The question is, are you going to make it? Or are you going to keep letting fear decide for you? Because whether you act or not, you're always making a choice. And the life you get will be shaped by it. Most people think transformation comes with time, with years of grinding effort, or with some miraculous event that falls into their lap. But the reality is, transformation begins in a single moment, the instant you decide. That decision may take time to show its results, but the shift itself is immediate. Something inside you flips and you can never see yourself or your life the same way again. It's the power of that one choice, and once you understand it, you'll start to see just how many doors have been waiting for you to open them. But let's talk about the darker side of choice, the missed ones. Because sometimes the best way to feel the weight of possibility is to feel the sting of what happens when you don't choose. We all know someone who had talent, opportunity, or potential, but they wasted it. Maybe it was the friend who could have gone far but never left his comfort zone. Maybe it was the colleague who always talked about dreams but never acted on them. Or maybe it was you, staring at a chance you let slip away because you told yourself it was too risky or not the right time. Looking back, wasn't that the real loss, not the attempt but the inaction? That's the brutal truth. We rarely regret the choices we made with courage. We almost always regret the ones we never made. Imagine two versions of you standing in front of a mirror. One is the you that keeps making the same choices, play it safe, do the minimum, stay in the cycle. This version feels familiar, predictable, maybe even comfortable, but deep down there's emptiness. Then there's the other version, the one who made that bold choice. That version looks at you with fire in their eyes. That version knows pain, yes, but also pride. That version carries scars, but also freedom. Now here's the haunting part. Only one of them will become real, and it all comes down to which choice you make right now. Choice by nature carries contrast. When you say yes to one path, you say no to another. And most people live in fear of the no. They don't want to give up comfort, security, or what they already know. But what they fail to see is that by clinging to what feels safe, they are automatically saying no to growth, to opportunity, to the life they actually crave. Every choice has a cost, but so does staying the same. The problem is that we see the cost of change clearly, while the cost of inaction hides until it's too late. Take the example of someone in a toxic relationship. They know deep down it's destroying them, yet they stay. Why? Because leaving feels terrifying. They see the cost, loneliness, uncertainty, starting over. But what they don't see is the hidden cost of staying, the years wasted, the confidence eroded, the dreams abandoned. One choice to leave would be painful in the short term, but life-changing in the long term. This is the paradox of choice. It hurts either way, but one kind of pain sets you free while the other chains you forever. The same applies to success. Everyone wants it, but few are willing to make the choices it demands. Waking up early, working while others are distracted, saying no to temptations, these are choices, not luck. And yet people who don't succeed often tell themselves stories like, they just got lucky or I never had the chance. The truth is, the chance was always there, but they didn't choose it. It's not that life didn't offer them opportunities. It's that they didn't say yes when those moments came. And here, where I want you to pause, think back over your own life. How many moments can you remember where a different choice could have rewritten your story? The moment you could have spoken up but didn't. The moment you could have started but waited. The moment you could have committed but hesitated. These memories sting because they remind us of what's possible. But the good news is this: the same power is still here now. You're not too late. You're standing at another fork in the road as you listen to these words. You can decide today in this moment to choose differently. Let me share with you a story about a man who proved this truth. He was in his 40s, broke, divorced, and drowning in regret. Most people would say life had passed him by. But one night, sitting in his small apartment, he realized something. If he kept making the same choices, nothing would ever change. So he made a different choice. He decided to dedicate just 1 hour a night to building something, anything, that could move his life forward. He chose to cut out television, cut out excuses, and cut out pity. That one choice turned into a habit. That habit turned into a business. And within 5 years, the man who had once been written off as a failure was living with freedom, respect, and joy. Did it take work? Of course. But it all started with one choice on one lonely evening. Contrast this with another man, someone who never made that shift. He too felt regret, but instead of changing, he chose blame. He blamed the government, his boss, his parents, even bad luck. Every day he told himself he would change someday. But someday never came. And in the end, his life was nothing more than a chain of excuses. What separated these two men wasn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It was one choice. One chose ownership. The other chose avoidance. And that difference created two completely different destinies. This is why one choice matters so much. It's not about the choice itself, but what it represents. It represents who you decide to be. Every time you choose courage over fear, discipline over distraction, or growth over comfort, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. And the more votes you cast, the stronger that identity becomes. Eventually, it's no longer just a choice you made. It's who you are. But here, the trap: people often think they need to wait until they feel confident before making the choice. They tell themselves, once I feel ready, I'll act. But confidence doesn't come first. Choice does. Confidence grows out of action, not before it. The man who waits for confidence never moves. The man who chooses in spite of fear builds confidence through doing. So if you're waiting for the perfect feeling, you'll wait forever. The choice has to come first. The question then is simple. What choice is waiting for you? You already know what it is. It's been on your mind for weeks, maybe months, maybe years. It's that thing you keep avoiding, that decision you keep postponing. The choice you've been pretending isn't urgent, even though deep down you know it's the one thing that could shift everything. That's the choice that will change your life. The only question is, will you make it? Because here's the brutal truth. In 10 years, the pain of making the wrong choice will fade. The embarrassment of failing will fade. The sting of rejection will fade. But the pain of not choosing, of letting fear silence you, will only grow louder with time. And by then, the cost will be far greater than any risk you could have taken. That's why one choice, made today, can save you from a lifetime of regret. So remember this: you don't need to know every step. You don't need to see the whole road. You just need to choose differently here and now. And once you do, the rest will unfold in ways you can't even imagine yet. That's the magic of one choice. It doesn't just change your path, it changes you. Think about this: at any point in your life, you are one decision away from a completely different future. That idea sounds almost too simple, but the most powerful truths often are. The difference between someone living a life of regret and someone living a life of fulfillment is rarely a giant leap. It's usually one small, courageous step, a single yes where most people would say no. But here's the thing: most people underestimate the ripple effect of their choices. They think, what difference does it make if I skip this workout? If I spend one more evening scrolling? If I don't apply for that job? If I don't speak up in that meeting? They tell themselves it's just one moment, one decision, nothing big. But life doesn't work that way. One choice leads to another, and together they create momentum. Momentum that either carries you closer to your dreams or further away from them. Consider this. When you choose discipline over laziness just once, you set a precedent. You tell your mind and body that this is who you are now, someone who acts even when it's uncomfortable. And the next time that choice becomes a little easier. Before you know it, what felt impossible becomes natural. The same is true in reverse. Skip discipline once and you tell yourself it's okay to lower the standard. And next time it's easier to slip again. That's how entire lives are built. Not in the grand events, but in the small, repeated choices that add up. This is why one choice can instantly change everything. It breaks the cycle. It disrupts the momentum you've been building unconsciously. One courageous decision can interrupt years of avoidance and create a brand new direction. It's not that everything changes overnight, but the trajectory does, and that's what matters most. A plane shifted by just 1 degree ends up in a completely different destination after enough time. So it is with your life. Let me share a story to illustrate this. There was once a man who had spent years stuck in the same routine. Wake up, go to work, complain, come home, distract himself, sleep, repeat. He wanted more, but he always told himself it wasn't possible. Then one evening, walking home, he saw a small flyer for a night class on public speaking. Normally, he would have ignored it, but for some reason, that night he paused. He thought about the fear he always felt when speaking up, the opportunities he had missed, the way his voice had remained silent. And in that single moment, he made a different choice. He signed up. That one decision seemed small, but it changed his entire path. Within years, he became not only confident in communication, but a leader in his company. The people who once ignored him now looked to him for guidance. The trajectory of his life shifted because of a single choice, to step into fear rather than away from it. Now contrast that with the millions of people who see opportunities every day and walk past them. They tell themselves, "I'll do it next time." But here's the tragedy: sometimes there is no next time. The moment you ignore might never return, and even if it does, you won't be the same person you are today. The courage you have right now will fade if it's not used. That's why opportunity is perishable. It doesn't wait. It doesn't pause for you. It either gets seized or it's gone. But let's go deeper, because the real power of choice is not just in changing what you do, it's in changing how you see yourself. When you make a bold choice, you rewrite your identity. You stop being the person who wants to change and become the person who does. That shift in identity is everything. Because once you believe you are capable, your actions follow. And when your actions change, your results follow. It all cascades from that one choice. For example, imagine someone who sees themselves as a smoker. They might try to quit, but deep down, they still think of themselves as a smoker who's trying not to smoke. That identity pulls them back. But the moment they decide, "I'm not a smoker anymore," everything changes. The cravings may remain, but the identity is different, and the choice to resist becomes stronger. That one choice to redefine themselves changes the way they act, and eventually the way they live. This is why your choices are so powerful. They are not just decisions about what you do. They are declarations about who you are. Every time you choose courage, you declare, "I am brave." Every time you choose discipline, you declare, "I am focused." Every time you choose growth, you declare, "I am capable of becoming more." Over time, those declarations shape a reality that others will see and feel. Now I want to bring this back to you. As you listen right now, there's something in your life that has been waiting for a decision. You know what it is. Maybe it's leaving the job that drains your soul. Maybe it's starting the business you've been thinking about for years. Maybe it's committing fully to your health, or to a relationship, or to a dream you've been pushing aside. That choice has been haunting you, and you've been telling yourself stories. "Now isn't the right time. I'll do it later. I don't have everything figured out yet." But here's the truth. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to choose. Think of it this way. Your life is a book, and every day you're writing a page. But every now and then you come to a chapter break. That's when one choice can set a completely new direction for the story. And the beauty of life is that you're always one choice away from turning the page. You don't need to rewrite the past. You just need to start the next chapter differently. But here, where most people get stuck, they overcomplicate the choice. They think it needs to be massive, dramatic, life-shattering. But often the most powerful choices are simple: choosing to wake up early, choosing to speak honestly, choosing to stop blaming others, choosing to take the first step toward something new. Those choices may look small, but they carry massive weight because they change your pattern. And once the pattern shifts, so does everything else. So let me ask you, if you knew that one choice today could save you years of regret, what would you do differently? Would you finally stop waiting for permission? Would you finally stop listening to fear? Would you finally stop pretending you don't know what you want? Because deep down, you do know. The only question is whether you'll act on it. And here's the promise: the moment you do, you'll feel it. Not because everything around you will instantly change, but because something inside you will. The moment you make that choice, you'll feel a sense of alignment, a sense of power, a sense of clarity. It's like unlocking a door that's been closed for years. On the other side is not certainty, but possibility, and that's where real life begins. The truth is, most people aren't stuck because they lack options. They're stuck because they refuse to choose. They live in a prison of hesitation, always waiting for the perfect moment. But hesitation is the slowest form of death. It robs you quietly, day by day, until you wake up one morning and realize the life you wanted has already passed you by. The way out is not more waiting. The way out is one choice, made now, not later. So as you reflect on your life tonight, remember this: everything you want is on the other side of a single decision. The world won't hand it to you. Nobody will choose it for you. It's on you. And when you finally make that choice, when you finally stop waiting and start living, you'll look back and realize it was never as complicated as you made it. It was always simple, one choice that changed everything. There's a harsh reality about choices that nobody likes to admit. Choosing differently is uncomfortable. It feels unnatural. It feels like stepping into the unknown, and the unknown is terrifying. That's why so many people stay stuck. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't want to face the discomfort of doing it. And yet, that discomfort is the very signal that tells you the choice matters. If it didn't scare you, it wouldn't change you. Think about the most meaningful moments of your life, the ones that shaped who you are. Almost all of them began with a moment of fear, didn't they? The choice to say yes to an opportunity, the choice to admit your feelings, the choice to walk away from something unhealthy. Fear was there every time, but here's the truth: courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is choosing in spite of fear. It's the decision to act while your heart is racing, while your mind is screaming at you to retreat. That's why courage is rare, and that's why it's so powerful. But here's the beautiful part: you don't need to be fearless to change your life. You only need to be brave for a few seconds, just long enough to make the choice. Once the choice is made, momentum takes over. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, terrified to jump into the water below. Your mind runs wild with fear. But the moment you leap, the fear is replaced with exhilaration. That's how powerful one decision can be. It transforms your entire state. Now let's talk about something most people overlook: the compounding effect of choices. We often expect one big decision to instantly fix everything. We think, if I just quit this job, if I just move to this city, if I just meet the right person, everything will be perfect. But life doesn't work that way. One choice is the spark, not the fire. It sets the direction, but you still need to keep walking the path. And that's where the magic happens. The first choice creates possibility. The next choices create reality. For example, the choice to prioritize your health by starting to exercise doesn't instantly make you fit, but it opens the door to a new lifestyle. Every workout after that reinforces it. The choice to start the business doesn't make you successful overnight, but it sets you on a path where success becomes possible. The choice to walk away from a toxic relationship doesn't guarantee happiness instantly, but it creates space for healing and for love to enter again. The first choice is the turning point. The ones that follow are the journey. But here, where contrast becomes important, the choice you avoid doesn't just leave things as they are, it makes them worse. Avoidance compounds just like action does. Every time you choose fear over courage, you reinforce weakness. Every time you choose distraction over discipline, you reinforce failure. Every time you choose excuses over effort, you reinforce mediocrity. Over time, those avoided choices pile up into a life of regret, and regret is the heaviest burden a human can carry. Let me share another story. A woman in her late 60s was once asked about her biggest regret. She didn't talk about the mistakes she had made. She talked about the opportunities she never took, the times she stayed silent, the times she played safe, the times she convinced herself she wasn't ready. Looking back, she realized those avoided choices had shaped her life far more than the choices she actually made. And she said something powerful: "Fear wasted more of my life than failure ever did." That is the cost of hesitation. So here's the real question. What are you going to do with this truth? It's not enough to nod along and agree that one choice can change everything. You have to decide, because knowledge without action is useless. You could watch 1,000 videos, read 100 books, listen to countless motivational words, and still stay stuck if you never choose differently. Information doesn't transform you. Choices do. And the good news is, the choice you need to make doesn't have to be huge. Start small. Decide today that you will not go to bed without making progress on your dream. Decide today that you will not run from the conversation you've been avoiding. Decide today that you will treat your time like the precious resource it is. Those small shifts made consistently create unstoppable momentum. Here, another perspective. Every choice you make sends a message to the future version of yourself. When you choose courage, your future self thanks you for creating opportunities. When you choose discipline, your future self thanks you for the strength and resilience you built. But when you choose fear or excuses, your future self is forced to live with the limitations you accepted. You are, in this very moment, shaping the life of the person you will become. The question is, will they thank you or will they resent you? And this brings us to the final truth. Life is short. You don't know how many days you have left. None of us do. And the tragedy is not death. It's reaching the end and realizing you never truly lived. Realizing you always had the power to change, but you never used it. Realizing you let fear, excuses, and hesitation write your story. But the beauty is, it doesn't have to be that way. As long as you are breathing, you still have a choice. So let this be the moment. Let this be the night you stop waiting, stop overthinking, stop wishing for a sign. This is the sign. This is your reminder that the life you want is one choice away, and it's not a choice you make tomorrow, it's a choice you make now. Because here's the ultimate truth. The difference between the life you have and the life you want is not luck, not talent, not circumstances, it's courage. The courage to choose differently. The courage to step into uncertainty. The courage to start, even if you do know how it will end. That's the only thing standing between you and transformation. So as this video ends, ask yourself, what's the one choice I need to make today that will change everything? Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't convince yourself you'll do it later. Later is how dreams die. Decide now. Take action now. Live now. And when you do, you'll look back one day and realize that everything, the growth, the success, the love, the fulfillment, began with that single choice you made when everyone else was still waiting. Remember this for the rest of your life. One choice can change your day. One choice can change your year. One choice can change your entire life. And right now, you have that power in your hands. Use it.